Hi everyone, my name is Matt. Welcome to my shop. In this video I'm going to show you how I install one of these half mortise locks. So the one thing you want to be really conscious about when you're installing one of these locks is that you're laying it out based off of the keyhole and not the actual lock body. Because if you center this whole mechanism in your door, your drawer, whatever you're putting it into, your keyhole is not going to be centered on that workpiece. So just keep that in mind and let's get started. What we need to do first is lay out exactly where we want basically our keyhole to go. So I'll do that now. I'm mark out my center point here. It's 11, about 5.5, and I'm going to come up 1/2 inch. So this is where I want my keyhole to go. I'll put a line here. So we want to lay out the mechanism so that the keyhole is right on this line. So the mechanism will be up here in this position, which is off center. Now the next thing I'm going to do is mark the top and bottom of the mechanism using my line as a reference, lining it up with my pin, and I'm just going to use my knife to just mark the top. And then once I have the top marked, I'll bring my mechanism back in and I'll mark the bottom. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove the material from the door to inset this front edge of the lock mechanism. And to do that, I'm going to take my layout lines and extend a square line across the face. There's my lines, and the lock will sit in between them like that. So now we need to set our router to the same depth as the top here. And I'll just do that there. There. I have a test block that I'm going to use to just verify my settings. You see it's pretty close. I'm going to leave it like this. There's just a little bit of material there that can come out, just a hair. But I'd rather have it like this just in case than have it go too far. Now I use my chisels just to create a couple of wedges on both sides that are the correct depth for the hinge. So when the hinge mechanism is resting on these two ledges, that's causing the side of the mechanism to be flush with the side of the door. Doing it this way, you don't have to worry about these 2 points being the right depth. You don't really have to worry about anything in between. The next thing we have to do is remove all the material so this lock body will fit into the door. The first thing I want to do is set my router bit so that it's a little bit deeper than this lock mechanism body. That ensures that this thing will fit in there when it's all said and done. So I'm just going to take a straight edge here, run it over the top of the bit, and then raise and lower it until the lock body is pretty close to the straight edge. So that's all set. Let's lay out the area to be removed on the door. Okay, so the way I like to do this is just put the hinge into, sorry, not the hinge, put the put the lock into the opening we have here ready, and just roughly mark where the sides of the body are going to go. So we've got those lines there, and then I'll take a square and extend those back. Okay, and then the other thing we have to lay out is how far back to go. This is somewhere you want to be pretty careful with, because if you go too far, you won't have anywhere for this back of the mechanism to rest on. So just keep that in mind. What I do is just measure it. It's an inch, so I'll set it to an inch from the edge, right here. So all of this needs to be removed. And one last sanity check. So just make sure that we're in the ballpark. I'll even flip it down, top of it, just take a look. Looks good. Okay, so I'll grab the router and we'll clear this all out. So now we can test fit the lock and see how we're doing. It's pretty good. The side to side is good. It fits side to side just fine. The one problem I'm having still is that it's not going all the way in, and what is probably causing that is these rounded corners. So on the lock mechanism, you can see the corners aren't quite square, so I'm not too worried about making these too perfect, but I'm just going to kind of square them up a little bit to remove some more material. Alright, so that fits in there pretty well. So now the next thing we have to do is basically inlay all this lock area into the door. You know, just like a big hinge. So to do that, I'll start off by just scribing around the lock itself. I'll scribe along the back as well. So now, just like every other time, get my router again and set the depth to this thickness, and I can route all this out. So now I have my router set to the right depth, and I did test it on my test block as well just to make sure everything was good. So now I'm ready to route this all out. Okay, so I stayed away from my line a little bit, and now I'll come back with my chisels and just clean this up right back to the line. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is just remove a little bit of material from the back wall just for this little piece of the mechanism right here. So all I'm going to do is just lay my lock mechanism in here and just kind of eyeball where that needs to be. Around there. So now that I have my mark, I'll just take my chisel and just kind of clean up the area a little bit. Test the fit again. That's good. So the next thing we have to do is drill the keyhole, and that's this little pin right here. So an easy way to figure out where that is in here, just stick your lock into the mortise, take your mallet, just give it a tap. And then I'll leave an indentation in your mortise hole of where that hole needs to be. So the first thing I'm going to do is just drill a hole through here with a 1/16 of an inch drill bit just to mark my location on the face side, and then I'll come back with a larger drill bit and drill the other side. Okay, the next thing I want to do is find a drill bit that is probably a little bit bigger than the diameter of the key. Let's see, 3/16. It's too small. Let's go up 7. That's probably about right. Just a little bit bigger. And this here is 7/32. So the reason I drill the 1/16 of an inch hole first is just to prevent any tear out on the face side. If I were to drill in from the other side, even with the backer board, there's always a chance of some tear out. Like this, there's no chance of tear out on the front, only on the back side, which you'll never see. So I'll just go ahead and I'll drill this hole. There we go. Now obviously the key isn't going to fit in this hole because of the little mechanism here, the actual key part. I'll just take my key, set it in the hole, and then just sort of draw around it so I know how big it is, like that. Now I'll go back to my drill bits. That's good. And I'll drill another hole here. Now the rest of this is just a little chisel work to straighten up the hole so that the key fits in nicely. It's a little tight right now, but I have a couple little bumps here that I'll take out with the chisel, and then this key will go in nice and easily every time. And there's the completed keyhole. The key slides right in, no problem. Alright, now we can actually test our lock, see how it fits. It straps right in. See, it's flush here, it's flush on the face. And to the most exciting part, the key fits in the hole and the lock mechanism works. So the last thing we have to do is install the screws for the lock. Here I'm just using a self-centering drill bit. I'm just going to drill in a little bit just to mark my location of my holes. So now with a larger drill bit, I'm going to drill a little bit of a clearance hole for this top part of the screw, which doesn't have any threads. Now I can install the screws. Normally I'd thread these first with a steel screw, but I don't have any, and I'm pretty confident with my my pilot hole sizes, so I'm just going to go ahead and give this a try, putting a little bit of wax on the screw before. I'm just going to be very careful as I'm screwing these in for the first time. If I feel any kind of resistance, I'm going to stop. So far so good though. It's pretty good. There we go. All installed, ready to go. Okay, now that we have our lock installed in our door, we need to create the mortise in the case to actually receive the bolt from the lock. Basically, all you need to do is transfer the location of the bolt to the inside of your case and then mortise that area out. A really easy way to do that is to use some transfer compound that you can buy just specifically for this purpose. I've also heard that lipstick works well as well. What I do is just take a pencil and I just fill up this whole mechanism area with pencil lead, and then I'll close the door and press it up against the side of the case, and that'll leave me a little imprint of where I need to remove the material from my mortise. So with plenty of lead or graphite on my door, right on my lock mechanism, I'll just close my door into the case and then close the lock. I'll do that a few times just to set the location. And then on the inside, you can see an imprint of where that mortise needs to go. That's a little faint on the camera, but you can kind of make out kind of where it is. You can see the top of it is right here. There's the back line, and then here's the bottom. So now I'll grab my chisel and I'll start mortising out that area. So I've roughly just kind of outlined where I need to remove the material from, and this is a little tight for me because there's not a whole lot of room for my chisel to go in this case. So this is going to be a little tricky. Okay, with our lock mortise cut, we can go ahead and try it out. Look at that. It's locked. So that's it. It's all installed. So one last thing to note about these locks is that they are sold in both a right hand and a left hand variety. And that left and right hand variety distinguishes just which side the hinges are on. So if your door has hinges on the right, you want the right-handed lock. This lock is from Horton Brasses. Check them out. They are a great supplier of high-quality hardware. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope that you've realized how simple it really is to install one of these locks. They do look daunting, but if you follow the steps in the right sequence, it's really not that hard to install one of these things. So thanks for watching, and until next time, happy woodworking.